welcome to episode 5 of Wrap Your Lugs Round This. Sorry about the way I said 5 there, that sounded really weird. But yeah, thank you very much. If you are continuing to listen, thanks very much for listening to the other 4. If you're a new listener, welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, this episode, we're going to talk about theatre again. I'm going to mention a little bit about sports in theatre, something that people might not know a lot about, how many sporting stories have made it into the world of theatre. Also, we're going to talk about what's going on in the country, locally here in the northeast and down the West End, up and down the country. And yes, we're going to talk about the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Now, every episode I am going to talk about the Fringe up until it kicks off in August. Then I am going to be at the Fringe and I will be covering it daily at the Fringe for the first week only. So yeah, and also we're going to interview Stacy Walton of Walton-Gunn Productions, who produced my show, The Big Time, there at the Fringe last year. We're going to have a little retrospect with her. She's going to think back and talk about what she thought of the Fringe last year, how it went, offer some tips to any new companies going there, and hopefully offer her opinion on what's good to see this year. Also going to have an interview with local musician Jen Stevens. Now, she is well known in the northeast and throughout the country. She's a singer-songwriter, great reputation, but she's also dabbled a bit in theatre as well. So we're going to just talk about how she got involved in theatre and her other extracurricular activities. So yeah, that's going to be episode 5. So dig in and enjoy. To kick things off, we're going to talk about Cabaret. The musical Cabaret has just announced some of its casting for Bill Kenwright's up-and-coming production. Now, I might sound like a broken record here. I'm going to talk about John Partridge again. Yes, I did talk about John on the last episode. He's currently in rehearsals for The View Upstairs, which is about to open, so please do get your tickets for that. He has been announced as MC for this upcoming production of Cabaret, so I'm sure he's going to absolutely nail that role. He's also joined by Anita Harris. Now, older people out there who might be listening might remember her from the Carry On films. Now, me, I absolutely adore these films. I grew up loving these films. I was a huge fan of Sid James. He was a big hero to me. Many people know him for comedy roles, but Sid was also an absolute stormer of a serious actor. There's a few roles earlier in his career, darker roles, which he was absolutely amazing at. But yeah, he found fame and some kind of fortune in the Carry On films as a comedic actor, which I absolutely adored. So yeah, Anita Harris, who was in a few of those Carry On films, she's going to be in there as Fräulein Schneider. And joining them is Cara Lily Hayworth as Sally Bowles. So there's 3 announced for the upcoming Bill Kenwright production of Cabaret coming your way. And Cabaret, great musical in my mind. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a look. I first saw this back in the late 90s when I was at drama school. I went to see a youth amateur production of it, and I was just, knocking my socks off, honestly. Swear to God, I wasn't expecting it, and it was really dark, this production as well, as was Berlin at that time, it couldn't be tits and teeth and smiles all around. It was one of the most horrible times in their history. So yeah, this production was really dark, brooding, the costumes, there was limited colour, the girls, they were dressed, it was sexy, but it wasn't sexy in the traditional sense. They had hairy armpits, the makeup wasn't flawless, but just the way they moved the body with the fussy choreography was just outstanding. But yeah, really dark and grim, but funny as well. That's what brought the humour out, because everything about it was so dark, and when those comedic moments happened, they were extra special. So yeah, that's some of the casting announced for Cabaret, so please do get yourself along to see that. Now, in the northeast, we have another musical has announced its casting for Dolly Mixtures. Now, Dolly Mixtures is a returning musical coming back to the Customs House, where it where it began. And that was written by Tom Kelly, who I spoke about in the last episode too. Sorry for repeating myself, but Tom's got a lot of work on, and rightly so. He deserves it. Tom is an absolute phenomenal writer up here in the Northeast. And, Dolly Mixtures is getting a second run out, and it deserves to. It done really well at the Customs House the first time round, so yes, it is coming back, and the cast have been announced. Now, some of the original cast are coming back. We have Georgia Nicholson coming back, Victoria Holton, Kylie-Anne Ford and Christina Dawson, who return. Patricia Whale is returning, but in a different role this time. She played Margaret originally, and she's playing Jean this time round. The new members of the cast, we have Natasha Hawes, Zoe Haken, and we also have Stephen Lee Hamilton as Ken. So that's a great cast. They all have done phenomenal work. Musicals under the belt, theatre under the belt, so it's a smashing cast, and I know they've got to do it justice. Now, for those who don't know the story of Dolly Mixtures, quite a few years ago now, a group of women got together and they decided that they were going to raise money. Now, they didn't just want to do the normal thing of stand there with buckets, do a bake sale, car boot sale to raise a little bit of cash. No, these women, they all got together and they wanted to do it a different way, in a way they knew how, and that was to perform. So these women got together. They were Margaret Graham, Hilda Joyce, Doris Ashcroft, Sylvia Nichols, Jean Smith, Liz Errington, Joan Lumsdale and Betty Dickinson. And they formed an unbreakable bond together to go out there into working men's clubs. Now, for those of you who know working men's clubs, you'll know that many years ago, well, not too long ago to be honest, they were a no-go area for women. That was considered a sanctuary for the men back in the day, so frowned upon to go anywhere near it. And these women had the balls to not just go near it, not just go in it, but they went in and they performed in it. They said to those guys, hey, look, we're here, so just sit down, shut your trap, listen up, and I promise you'll smile, and at the end of it, you're going to hand over some money. And that's what they did. And they managed to raise a phenomenal amount, £100,000 they raised. So yeah, that's a story that needs to be told. And Tom and John Miles is right important. Have done that. They've created a musical that celebrates what these women did. Now, as I said, this is the second run out. It did well the first time round, but I'm sure it's going to do even better this time round. So if you're a fan of musicals, you like a true story about real people, real triumph, then get yourself along to the Customs House. That's on the 21st to the 31st of August at the Customs House in South Shields. So get yourself along to see that. And a little tidbit, and moving on to something else, that will be directed by Mina Anwar. Now, Mina, to many, will be known from the Thin Blue Line sitcom that ran a few years back. She made a name on that, but she is an accomplished theatre actress as well. She's done some phenomenal work. Everybody's talking about Jamie. That's one of the big ones. She finished that not so long ago, and she moved into Life of Pi. Yes, the same Life of Pi that was the Ang Lee film. So that is now on stage, and it is doing phenomenal. Mina is in that, and I've seen some of the production shots, and wow, the film looked great, and they've done a magnificent job of capturing that on the stage. It looks absolutely stunning, and the reviews and the feedback that I'm hearing from there are just out of this world. So I suggest you go see that. Go see Nina in that before she heads up north to come and do Dolly Mixtures. Now, tickets are selling really, really fast. So get down. It's a Sheffield Theatres production at the Crucible Theatre, and that runs until the 20th of July, so you don't have long. So get your tickets as soon as possible. Now, before I mention what else is going on theatre-wise in the rest of the country, why don't we bring this back? Crazy story of the week. Okay. casting of Ariel in the live-action remake of Disney's Little Mermaid. Now, the casting isn't the craziest story. It's people's reactions that are absolutely crazy. Now, they have cast a person of colour, and people are kicking right off, saying that Ariel has to be white because she was white in the animated film. Now, I don't know what rights people think they have on claiming that Ariel has to be white, because I'm pretty sure myself, I've never seen a mermaid, okay? I've never seen a mermaid in my life. I don't know if they're white or they're black or they're purple or green. What? We haven't seen a mermaid because mermaids don't exist. So get off your high horse, okay, claiming that a mermaid must be white, okay? Just stop with this. I mean, really, look, Ariel was drawn as a cartoon character. We never met Ariel the mermaid, okay? It's not the same as Mulan, you know. It's not the same as Pocahontas, okay? This is a mermaid, okay? It's a mermaid. They don't exist. We don't know what they look like. So get off our high horses and just celebrate the fact that a wonderful actress has been cast in this role. She's got a phenomenal voice, she's got a great look, and I'm sure she's going to do a great job. So the crazy story of the week is people getting on the high horse about shit they don't know. Hey! So, what else is on theatre-wise? Well, I'm going to stick to the northeast for this next one, and I'm going to give a shout out to your Aunt Fanny. That's not your aunt out there who may be called Fanny. Yes, it's a group called Your Aunt Fanny. Sketch group, female-led, who have been doing the biz over the past few months with their shows and knocking people's socks off. They've received great reviews for their current show, Minge Unhinged. Okay, so yeah, that's Your Aunt Fanny and Minge Unhinged. Now, I first saw your Aunt Fanny group at Live Theatre a few years back when they started life there. A friend of mine was in the group at the time, Lauren Wayne, so I went across to support her and thoroughly enjoyed what that group were doing. Now, they've got a few new members. It's changed a little bit, but they're still doing it, man. It's a all-female, balls-out funny, you know, not scared, slap you in the face kind of humour. They're doing it, man. So give respect to them and give your ticket money to them as well. So get yourself to see them on the 12th of August at the stand. You won't be disappointed. I hope they go on from strength to strength and they keep doing what they're doing. So yeah, that's your Aunt Fanny. And from your Aunt Fanny, right over to an interview with Stacy Walton. What a segue that is. Stacy Walton of Walton-Gunn Productions. We caught up with Stacy in our first podcast last year as she was preparing to take her show, The Big Time, a comedy, up to the Edinburgh Fringe. Now, I caught up with her over a beverage and asked her how she thought last year's Fringe went, if she's got any tips for this year's Fringe and what she's going to see, and just, yeah, shit like that. So check it out. This is my interview with Stacy Walton. Stacy Walton of Walton-Gunn Productions. She's joined me for a drink. Well, I say join me for a drink. I'm having a drink. She's having a... What are you having? A Coke?
Cherry Coke Zero. Slim and Well says no to the alcohol.
So I'm having the alcohol for her. So, hello, Stacy.
Hello, Wayne.
Welcome back. What we're going to talk about is your experiences of the Edinburgh Fringe last year. As you know, Edinburgh Fringe is approaching us once again. There's a lot of people out there who are looking to perform at the Fringe, looking for advice, looking for stories, giving them a little bit of a heads up as to what's going on, maybe a little heads up as to what to see. So hopefully we'll cover all that. First things off, tell us about the show you took to Edinburgh last year.
The Big Time is a story about Jerry and Jax who kidnap a girl, but this kidnapping goes wrong, and it's just a slapstick screwball comedy. They want to make it up the ladder in the crime world, but it doesn't quite work out how they planned, and the story just follows their trials and tribulations.
So the big time described as a story of disorganized crime. Would that be correct?
It's a better way of saying it, yes.
The show did the whole run last year.
Yes, it did.
Yes, did the whole run of the Fringe. So tell me, how did you find the Fringe personally? Not on a producer level. How do you find it as a person?
In one word, wonderful. It's just a melting pot of talent all pulled together in wild and wonderful creations. The atmosphere, the energy, the performances, the talent. It's another world, and it just brings Edinburgh to life, and it's an experience that if you have never been, you have to go. So
you've been before as a regular punter, as an audience member prior to last year, yes?
Yes, it was the year previous. That was actually my first time, and it was an eye-opener. It was just something I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to be where there was a space, a performance would happen. It was wild and vast, and like I said, an eye-opener.
Yeah. So what made you want to take a show to the Fringe?
It's an experience that we felt would be a good step for the company, just to put our stamp on the place and really just stretch our legs and see where the experience would take us. So we went in quite fresh, quite eager, and it was a good experience all round for us, I think. Okay, so a lot of people debate this. They talk about how to publicise your show in Edinburgh. A lot of people are saying that going out there and flyering is redundant. They don't think it works. They don't think it sells a show. How would you respond to that? Well, from our personal experience, I can say that flyering does work. I know for a fact that people that we flyered and spoke to described the show. When we went to our slotted time performance, those people were sitting in the audience. So it's a way of getting the message across on a personal level, that they can see members of the cast, they can see us, and it's you they're investing their time in, and it's you that they've decided to spend money with. So it worked in our favour. Yeah. My personal experience is that the same. I always feel that when you get handed a flyer, just, anyone can be out there handing out flyers, but I think you as a company, as an actor, as a performer, if you get a chance to hand out your flyer, you're given something special, because if someone just hands you a flyer and they don't really know what the show's about, it's a hard sell, because I'll look at a lot of flyers and it doesn't really describe the piece very well. On the back it tends to say, oh, zany madcap comedy, and then they'll have a bunch of reviews. It doesn't really tell the story, and the image on the front sometimes doesn't tell the story either. So the chance to be a part of that show and have the chance to talk to the audience and explain fully what it's about, I think is vital for me, because a lot of times as well you see posters around the city everywhere, and you can see a poster and it can grab your attention, but it doesn't tell you what the thing's about. So until you speak to members of that company and get the full lowdown on what the show's about, I think you don't really know what you're going into. So yeah, I fully believe that flyering is still a vital tool in the Fringe battle. Yes, in the Fringe battle, it's definitely a vital tool. Territorial, definitely. Yeah, yes, it is territorial. Battle is a good word there, because you are battling to get bums on seats, and you are battling other shows and other companies and other performers out there. There's thousands of shows on, and you get a good spot on the Royal Mile, say, and you can get pushed out, or people can surround you because they realise you've got a great spot. So you might start on your own, and you might be handing out a lot of flyers. Other companies will see that and they'll gather around you like flies on shit, basically. It's definitely a stealth mission, that's for sure. Yeah,
But yeah, I do really believe that getting out there and flying is well worth it.
It's all part of the experience as well, really.
So, as a producer, I'm going to talk about something that often comes up when people are researching coming to the Fringe, and that is ticket sales, audience numbers, bums on seats. They look at it and they see in the past what the average audience is per show. Now, when I started late 90s, early 2000s, when I was a regular performer up there, it was about six to eight average audience members. So if you've got a 70-seater and you're pulling in 6-8 people per show, that's not a lot. But you know, numbers don't lie. It's not a high average at the Fringe. So a lot of people come and they've got to be aware that you might get those average numbers, but hopefully you think positively and think that you're going to sell out. But how did you, as a producer with your show, how did you fare against those average numbers and bums on seats?
Well, we were in a venue that sat about 45 to 50, and several of our performances did hit a sellout number, which was absolutely phenomenal. We were pulling in about 25 to 30 on average per show, which went way beyond my wildest expectations.
Yeah, so don't be deterred by low numbers. Don't be deterred by having those off days as well, because there will be days when it's teeming of rain outside and you can't get out, you can't sell your show, and that you'll not get as many people in because people just decide to stay in the hotel or do something a little bit different that day, not venture out to try and see 4 or 5 shows in a day. So there will be those days where you're going to get 2 people sitting in front of you, no matter what size your theatre is. I remember doing the Machine Gunners there in a 700-seater, I think it was. I think the music hall in the assembly rooms, something like that. And again, big, yeah. And there was times when we had a couple of people just sitting there staring at you. So it will happen, but yeah, don't be deterred.
But those 2 audience members deserve just as good a performance as a full house.
Yeah,
yes,
because again, it's those 2 people can go and tell a lot of people, especially nowadays with social media. They can go online and go on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. They can tell however many people, and if those 2 people bring in the next day 10 tickets, then hey, job done. You get an extra 10 people in the following show. So yeah, do the show, give it your best, and hope that those low numbers on a bad day will pick up your other days. So you did it last year, you're skipping it this year, but you're not skipping it as an audience member. You planning on seeing anything this year?
Yes, planning on going up the first weekend. Just had a quick look through the catalogue as I've done my...
Catalogue? It's not Littlewoods.
Sorry, darling.
The Fringe brochure.
Brochure.
She's ordering a sofa on the Never Never from the Littlewoods catalogue.
Yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it? Did my Waterstones trip and picked up my brochure, say it right, and had a quick flick through, and typically for me, the first things that pop up is always anything to do with Shakespeare and anything to do with parody and spoof. So, the first thing I've seen that I want to see is called Puppet King Richard II. So that is 2 used actors, a recycled Shakespeare, an old guitar, new Czech marionettes, and a chorus of found objects animate King Richard's tragic fall.
Was that you selling the show to the audience out there with your best telephone voice?
Did it work? If so, can I have some free tickets?
Yeah, obviously you're a big Shakespeare fan. That's no secret.
It's not, no.
Puppets, is that something you've seen before? Is that something that tickles your fancy in theatre?
On a grand scale, yes, as in The Lion King in the West End, the puppetry and the spectacle of that show is breathtaking, and it's always something that actually moves me almost to tears. It's just so clever and visual. And I think with puppetry you can just create dimensions and sizes that couldn't be done in any other ways, and I think it's just a truly clever aspect to theatre, and it really does pull me in and always makes me want to go and see that kind of show.
Yeah, I've seen a few shows, like smaller shows, not Lion King, but not taking anything away from what they do in Lion King, War Horse.
Oh, yes, I've seen War Horse.
King Kong as well, and Life of Pi, which is on at the moment. The stuff they're doing in their shows is phenomenal. But some of the stuff I've seen, smaller shows, more intricate, like Eastern European puppetry and things like that I've seen. Some of it is really clever, especially the shadow puppets. But then again, I think if you do it wrong, it can be awful. It can be god awful. You've got to use it in a smart way, not a lazy way. Be clever with it and make sure it's there for the story and not just because the writer's a bit lazy and he wants a little montage, so he uses puppets, which I've seen before. So yeah, I think it's a medium that's at its best is phenomenal. But yeah, I think it's got to be done wisely, because it can fall on its arse pretty quick.
I agree.
So what else? You mentioned parodies, spoofs.
Yes. So another thing that just jumped off the page at me was Friendsicle, and I think we can all.
Is that based on Friends by any chance?
Funny enough, it does say it's a parody musical about Friends. That's all it says. I think that's all it needs to say. But obviously, being a massive Friends fan, it's something that I would like to take a look at.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, it says exactly what it is. You don't have to push that. People know what they're getting, and I think it's one of those shows where it's just because it's got such a big fan base. I think you could just get people to recreate little scenes, and I think people would love it. Yeah, the pivot scene. And people would howl if you do it right. You get key moments. You're onto a winner. You know what I mean? It's got the potential to be something quite special if you are a fan of those things. I mean, Game of Thrones. There's been a lot of Game of Thrones parody, musicals and shows and stuff like that. And if you are an avid fan, you're a super fan. I think it's hard to find one of those shows not appealing.
Exactly, and you've got to kind of balance the hardcore theatre with the lighter relief, and I think that is what's great about the Fringe. It just has so many different aspects. You can dip in and out with whatever you're in the mood for at the time.
Yeah. So, anything else you're in the mood for?
There's I Wish My Life Were Like a Musical, and...
Is that you just talking from the heart, or is that you naming a show?
A bit of both, yes. Obviously it says it's a comic musical review that reveals everything you could want to know about being a musical theatre performer. So, it's something that I think many people in this business could relate to, and it'll just have that element of insider knowledge and something to have a little entertaining laugh at.
Yeah, it's like I spoke about Chorus Line, the musical. Chorus Line it's even more special for those people who have ever been dancers in the West End or on Broadway, anything like that. If they've ever went through the auditioning process of auditioning for a show, it speaks to them more than most.
On a deeper level.
Yeah, much deeper. I mean, it's a great show anyway, but if you are that type of person, if you've lived that life, then it speaks to you even more so.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll do the same. If you're just out there for a nice little musical theatre show, you'll enjoy it, and then hopefully if you are in the business, then again
you'll be able to pick up the inside humour that it'll speak of. So it's something that I think it'll just be an entertaining hour and a half.
Hour and a half, that's a long Fringe show.
Maybe I'm just being optimistic.
We'll have to double up on the drinks.
Encore.
Right, so is that it? You got...
There's one
got
more.
A fourth? Go on then.
There's a fourth. We'll talk about a fourth. It's called A Grave Situation, and it says it's armed with 5 spades and Albert's trusty toothpick. Will our grave-digging heroes tunnel back to Blighty in time? So this speaks very much of war, of Britain, of jolly hockey sticks, of taking it on the chin and just pulling together as a country and getting through the war. And I just think the visual of the advert looked very eye-catching, and it made me want to go and read a little bit more about what the show was about. So it's really piqued my interest.
Good. What you've just said there, again, with the image.
Yes.
Again, if you are going to the Fringe maybe next year, if you are there this year, make sure you've got a good image, because that speaks volumes. It's got to be eye-catching.
It's got to jump off the page at the person who's
when you're
flicking
reading the brochure, thousands and thousands of images are in there. You know, you've got to stand out when you're in a venue and this post has, you know, hundreds of wallpaper on every wall in venues. You want things that are going to pop and catch people's eyes. So make sure you have got the best image that you can. So finally, you went to the Fringe. You were happy with how your show performed at the Fringe.
I was.
Is there one piece of advice that you would give anyone that's got a show this year that we haven't already covered?
I would just say go with an open mind. Work with any bumps in the road. Just be optimistic. Just pull together as a company and enjoy it at the end of the day. You're there doing what you love. You're performing every day. Just make every moment count.
Good. And don't think about money.
No, don't think about money. If you're thinking about money, I think sometimes we're in the wrong business.
Yeah, you don't go to the Fringe to make money.
No, apparently not.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, Stacy. Thank you for popping back and telling us a little bit about last year's Fringe and what you're going to see this year's Fringe. I hope you do enjoy it, and best of luck with everything for the rest of 2019.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that was Miss Stacy Walton from Walton-Gunn Productions. Thank you very much for that, Stacy. Now, just in case you fancy seeing any of those shows that Stacy talked about, I'll just give you a rundown of what they are and where they are at and how long they're running for, etc. Okay, so we have A Grave Situation, that is on at the Pleasance Courtyard from the 2nd to the 17th. Frenzical, a parody musical about Friends, is on at the Assembly Rooms from the 1st to the 25th. Puppet King Richard II is on at PQA venues at Riddle's Court, and that's the 2nd to the 14th. I Wish My Life Was a Musical, that is on at the Underbelly. Previews begin 31st to the 2nd, and then it runs 3rd to the 26th. So if you fancy getting along to see those, please do. Now, a little later on, I obviously will give a couple of shout outs to a few more shows and make another pick of the Fringe for this week. But until then, why don't we find out what is my recommendation of the week? Recommendation of the week. My recommendation of this week is for you guys to check out Miss Jen Stevens. Yes, Jen Stevens is a fabulous singer-songwriter from the northeast of England, and you can check her out on all social media, mainly at Jen Stevens Music. Now, I've known Jen quite a few years now from the local music scene. Always been a big fan of her voice, her style, and she's just, you know, one of those great, humble people in music that can be very rare. She's someone I've always enjoyed seeing live and hearing her music as well. So I'm going to give you a little taster of one of her tracks in this recommendation of the week. But please do, you can check her out, like I say, all social media, Jen Stevens Music. You can find her on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Okay, so check her out. She's got a great album called Little One, and I'm going to play a little teaser here just to wet the whistle, so they say. that was Jen Stevens with Gravity from the album Little One. Please do check out that album and check out all the rest of Jen's albums out there as well. You will not be disappointed. She's a fabulous singer-songwriter, true talent of the Northeast, and we are lucky to have her. And you will hear from Jen at the end of the podcast. I caught up with her for a little interview, so please do enjoy that. And now, back to the Fringe. Okay, so I said I was going to talk about a few things that aren't at the Fringe, and I was going to give you my pick of the week. Actually, I've got probably two picks of the week this week, because I did do a top 5, then I thought, hey, I'll just do a pick of the week, and then I thought, well, there's too much good shit going on, so I'm struggling. So you'll get 2 top picks this week, but we will give some shout outs to some other shows as well. So the first shout out I want to give is to a show called 2 Night. That's 2 Night. And this is by Keenan Doyle, aka Adrian Dean and Alan Coyne, and they bring their show to Edinburgh from California. Now, they reached out to me and said, we thought you might be interested in this show because you've talked about Panto on your podcast before. Now, I didn't think people from California understood what Panto was, so that's a shock to me. But yeah, they said their show is quite Panto-like. There's a lot of running around, cross-dressing, audience participation, sing-alongs, and they say Keane even bops Doyle on the head with a rolling pin at times. So they thought that was very Panto-esque, or very Punch and Judy. Very Punch and Judy, if people are old enough to remember the Punch and Judy shows down at the seaside. So very much a Panto, Punch and Judy-esque kind of show this is. Now, they're performing at the Snug at Paradise in Augustines, I never know how to say that, and they're running from the 12th to the 25th of August at 8 p.m. For a very reasonable £5. So if you're looking for a little bit of silly fun with a Shakespeare kind of twist, then do check out 2 Night. Now, if you fancy something a little more spacey, not spaced out, or it might be spaced out, I don't know. There is Girl Scouts versus Aliens, and that's on the Assembly George Square Studios, Studio 5, from the 31st of July to the 26th of August. Now, this is by Escapade Productions, who said to me that they're so over the moon, do you get it? Spacey, over the moon, to be launched in their new family adventure, Girl Scouts versus Aliens. And they said it's the greatest lo-fi sci-fi comedy in the galaxy. Now, this tells the story of 4 teenage heroines who are on their very, very last camping trip when alien spaceship lands, and they're only armed with what they've got, camping kit, their scouting skills, toasted marshmallows and the like, and that's all they've got to save the world. Oh, and they use some puppets and classic pop tunes from what I hear as well. So that sounds like a lot of fun, and if it's the fun that takes your fancy, then why not get yourself along to see that. It's described as a celebration of friendship, adventure, and the scouting and guiding movements, which are currently 38 million strong. Apparently, it's a love letter to teams you make, the quests you go through Murray's fields, and all the strange skills that you pick up being a Girl Scout. So it's a celebration of the Girl Scouts and the wonderful, vast thing that is outer space, I suppose. So if you fancy a good little laugh with some Girl Scouts and some aliens, then get yourself along to see that. But now I'm going to talk about my first pick of the week for the Fringe. It's called Hitler's Tasters. Now, this first caught my eye when I was on Twitter, Max Brooks's Twitter, a writer who I'm a big fan of. I recently saw him at BookCon. Now, when I was on his Twitter, I saw that he retweeted about a play called Hitler's Tasters. Now, this is written by Michelle, forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, Michelle Kolos Brooks. If I'm wrong, Michelle, please do correct me. This is Hitler's Tasters, written by Michelle. She's written a couple of other plays, Hostage, Kalamazoo. This is her newest one that is picking up great buzz and great reviews currently in the States before it hits the Fringe. And this is described as 3 times a day, every day, a group of young women have the opportunity to die for their country. They are Adolf Hitler's food tasters. And what do girls discuss as they wait to see if they will live through another meal? Like all girls throughout time, they gossip and dream. They question and dance. They want to love, laugh, and above all, they want to survive. So yeah, based on a true story, true events, Hitler did have a group of women that were his tasters to see if he was going to be poisoned. So with that, we have this great piece of theatre coming to the Fringe. And it is an all-female cast, female writer. This is another one for those women of the Fringe, which there's a lot of #women of the Fringe. They're doing it this year, and that is absolutely great to see. So yes, this is on my radar. This is one of my picks of the week, based on a true story, and it's picking up, as I said, great reviews. One of those reviews I'll just read for you right now. Hitler's Tasters is a disturbingly entertaining piece of work. It's funny and creepy, but also genuinely interesting to contemplate. It's a show that will linger in your mind. There you go. Sells it for me. So, yes, this is on my list. And if you want to catch that, please do. You can see Hitler's Tasters at Greenside at Infirmary Street, Olive Studio. And that is running from the 2nd of August to the 24th. So, yeah, do check that one out. Now, my next pick of the Fringe for the week is Fishbowl. Now, this is described as the hilarious misadventures of three eccentric and lovable anti-heroes crammed in their wacky rooftop bedsits. The funniest show in Europe comes to Edinburgh after a sellout tour. The Moliere Award winner for Best Comedy Play. A physical comedy extravaganza. Now, hey, the Moliere Awards, that under your belt, it says a lot. And again, it's another one that's picked up so many great reviews over in Europe. And it's always nice to see something coming over for us to enjoy, making its way over the waters over here in the UK. Now, if anyone knows me out there, they know I'm a big comedy physical theatre fan. It goes back to, the silent era, your Harold Lloyds, your Buster Keatons, your Charlie Chaplins, your Laurel and Hardy. I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of the slapstick comedy. So that's on my pick of the week. Now, if you want to see Fishbowl, you can see that at the Pleasance Courtyard, the Grand, from July 31st to the 26th. So, yeah, that's another one to check out. That's my 2 top picks for the Fringe of the week. We are coming to the end of this episode of Wrap Your Lugs Around This. Now, before I end the episode with the lovely interview with Jen Stevens, I just want to mention a little bit about sports and theatre. I spoke about it at the beginning of the episode, and I just want to plant a seed about sports and theatre, because a lot of the productions I've been involved in as an actor over the past few years have all been sports related. Now, I am a big sports fan. Football, I reluctantly support Newcastle United, but we'll move swiftly on. Big fan of South Shields FC, my hometown club. Also, I'm a shareholder in Clapton CFC, non-league team there, and big basketball fan, New York Knicks fan. So, and mixed martial arts. So, yeah, I'm a big sports fan. But for some strange reason, the last few years, I've been in so many sports-related pieces of theatre. Theatre like Dangle in the Dust, which is a rugby play. Alf Ramsey Knew My Grandfather, which is a football play about the very first football tournament, the very first World Cup, the Lipton Trophy, where a bunch of miners from West Auckland went on to beat multiple teams in the first World Cup and won the Lipton Trophy there. Hadaway Harry, which is about famous North East rower Harry Clasper. Everywhere We Go, which was the most recent play I did, which was about South Shields Football Club and their road to Wembley. So yeah, a lot of sports related. I mean, that's just a few. There's been others as well. It's just naming a few. So I'm just wondering if anyone out there has any football related pieces of theatre that they've been in, that they have got fond memories of. Can just give us a shout on Twitter. I'm just curious as to what else there is out there. I know, there's very obvious ones, but if there's any that performers have been in, give us a shout. Let me know about them on Twitter, because I would be interested in discussing that, because I am going to discuss a wrestling related piece of theatre next time on the episode. So yeah, on Twitter, give me a shout out. Let me know if there's anything you've been involved in as a performer, as a company that's been sports related. I'd be interested to know. Now, to end the episode, I am going to hand it over to the lovely Jen Stevens, who I caught up with this week and asked her about all things theatre, music and extracurricular activities. So this is the interview with the lovely Jen Stevens. So here I am with Miss Jen Stevens. Hello, Jen.
Hello, you all right?
I'm good. Thank you very much for being a part of this. So we're going to start off, we're going to talk about your music career, which is vast, varied. Do you want to tell us a little bit how you got started in music?
I grew up kind of in church, very churchy family, so I was always surrounded by music in that regard. My dad and my brother both played piano and trumpet when I was little, and I desperately wanted to play too, so when I was 4, I started playing piano, having piano lessons. My dad gave up shortly afterwards because I got better than him very quickly, which I've never stopped feeling guilty about. And then I was just always pretty musical all the way through school. I ended up going to college to study music because, well, just school stuff, bullying and that. So left school early and ended up going to college.
Yeah.
And was pushed much more by the music teachers there than I had been previously. I think they kind of saw something in me. And then went on to study jazz, which is the most pretentious degree anybody can have, I think. And then, yes, I started gigging when I was like 15, 16, just going around buskers nights in Sunderland, and the dog's just thrown himself on the floor in a strop.
Yeah, we do have a dog in the studio that's just doing a roll around, scratch his back.
Yeah, I started going to buskers nights in Sunderland, and then when I was at college, I joined a function band, imaginatively enough called Function with a K. And then off the back of that, a few of us from Function formed Jen Stevens and the Hiccups, which was all my original stuff. We then went on to divide Jen Stevens and the Hiccups into covers and originals. So covers gigs was Rose Parade, and still is. Jen Stevens and the Hiccups was originals. And then today, I've still got Rose Parade going. I've got a load of other covers projects going as well, and I do a lot of solo original stuff. I don't really have a band on the go for original stuff at the minute.
You always get compared to singer-songwriters all the time. Every time I read something about you, it's always like Jen Stevens sounds like this person, that person. You know, you pick any big female singer-songwriter name and you've been compared to them over the years. I mean, is there any that you feel that you are closest to? I
guess Alison Moye is probably a good comparison because I do have a low voice.
Yeah.
Alison Moye is actually my friend on Twitter, and we talk quite often about having low lady larynxes. I guess Stevie Nicks is the biggest compliment for me. Do have the husky thing going on. I get compared a lot to Jacqueline. What's her name from the Beautiful South? Jackie.
Oh yes.
I can't remember her surname.
Yeah.
But I grew up listening to Beautiful South and Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
And Alison Moye. So that's kind of.
Yeah. First time seeing you play, I think the two numbers that stuck out were Fleetwood Mac and Beautiful South numbers, and they always stuck in my mind. But yeah, it's always great to be compared to.
Absolutely.
To great people out there, but it's nice to know that you're liking yourself more to.
Yeah, and I
deep voice Alison.
Yeah, deep voice Alison, absolutely. Yeah, it's a massive compliment. Like, part of me prides myself on sounding like me, because I think you get a lot of particularly female singers who all sound very, very similar, and you can't really pick them apart. But I think when you hear my voice, you can kind of go, all right, that's Jen.
Yeah.
But there are nuances of other singers in there for definite.
Yeah, you can't help the influence coming in. It's like being a singer-songwriter, and you're writing a song. You know, sometimes you're influenced by other bands, other musicians, and sometimes in the middle of your song you might not notice it until someone points out and goes, oh, that bit of that song sounds a bit like that, and
Absolutely.
You go, actually yeah, it does, but it's not intentional. It's just sometimes it just bleeds into your subconscious. And
there's a bit in one of the songs on Little One. It's called Change of Heart, and there's an instrumental bit in it. And I never realised until after we'd recorded it that I've basically ripped off the A-Team theme tune.
Really?
So there's a bit in the middle of it that goes da 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 da. I was listening to it, I was like, I have absolutely ripped off the A-Team. Never mind.
You should reuse it and then get someone to do a little voiceover just over it, announcing the album.
Yeah.
But you're right, like, you know, talking about you having a distinct voice and people being able to instantly notice, oh, that's Jen, when I'm listening to it. I've talked a lot about on the podcast, and I talk about it all the time with people in musical theatre. There's far too many musical theatre singers who sound the same because they've been trained that way, and they all sound like carbon copies of each other. So you listen to a soundtrack of any musical and you can't tell who that person is.
Yeah.
And that's changing now, which I've talked about, which I think is great. You've got great singers, musical theatre singers out there who don't sound like everyone else. They've got a different voice, and that wasn't happening 20 years ago, you know. And now it's like, oh wow, you sound really different. Yeah, we'll bring you in, and that's what I love. I love being able to hear someone and instantly know, oh, that's that person.
Definitely. I think it bodes for me because my musical background's so varied. You know, spending a lot of time in church growing up, and then I initially started with piano lessons, classical piano lessons, and classical singing lessons, musical theatre singing lessons.
Yeah.
Did all of my, you know, poetry and prose exams and stuff like that, and then hit 16 and went, no, I like rock music and jazz, which is a weird combo. But my mum and dad always listened to really folky stuff, so there's just been this massive melting pot, which has made me, I guess, what I am, and I think less, what's the word, less structured backgrounds, I guess, are more acceptable now in musical theatre. You know, you don't have to have studied at this place with this person for this amount of time to really get anywhere. You know, I think people are generally a lot more accepting of people from all sorts of different backgrounds, and I think that's why you're getting all these different voices popping up, which is great.
So you are someone that enjoys theatre, Jen?
I love theatre.
Can you remember the first thing that you went to see at the theatre?
Yes, my mum used to take me to see various ballets every year, usually at either the Sunderland Empire or the Theatre Royal. Swan Lake was the first thing I went to at the cinema, at the theatre.
Well, you can go see it at the cinema now,
you can,
they do that. So Swan Lake. So you're now moving into theatre.
I am. I'm a late bloomer.
No, there's no such thing as a late bloomer. But yeah, you've done a very successful career in music, and you're shifting over. What was it that made you want to give it a shot?
I got asked to take part in a production at the Customs House a few years ago called Forgotten Broadway, that was directed by Gareth Hunter, and I am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
I shit myself. I absolutely shit myself all the way through it in the precursor to it, because everybody else was formally trained. Yeah. Everybody else had all of this musical theatre experience, and I was like, what am I doing here? I'm such a charlatan. You know, everybody else has those princessy voices, and I'm here shouting like Alison Moyet. And I was like, I'm so out of my depth. And I loved it, but I was like, never again. And then on the night out after we'd finished it, Gareth was like, will you be Aladdin in the panto? Yeah, you're just taking the piss now. And he was like, no, I'm genuinely asking you, will you be Aladdin? And I just thought he was taking the mickey all night. And as the night went on and I got more drunk, I was like, you're only asking us because, you know, I look great in thigh-high boots. And because I'm tall and you can't find a prince tall enough, blah, 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 blah. And then the next morning I got a message from him saying, so you're going to be Aladdin then? And I was like, oh, you actually meant it. Oh, I've been insulting you all night. And oh, well. So I went and did that. Absolutely loved it. Previously to that, because I used to teach music and musical theatre singing in schools. Yeah. So I directed a couple of musicals, and I loved that side of it. You know, I directed We Will Rock You a couple of times, Little Shop of Horrors, Grease, and had a great time with it. So I knew I already really liked it as a genre. And then I've done like little bits and pieces of voice acting, radio stuff, and then went on to do Goldilocks with you this year, and then Forgotten Broadway 2 this year. I just love it, and I'm involved on the tech side as well, because with working for the Customs House Theatre, I've done lots of bits and pieces of tech work. I was follow spot for their pantomime last year, and it's just lovely. Yeah, I like it.
It's a great family theatre.
Definitely.
It's very unlike anything else, especially when you involve all the techies and things like that, because you've got to understand techies are sarcastic as hell.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They're a different breed of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't ask them the same questions that you can normal people.
No.
They're a whole different breed. And then you've got your performers who are different, you know, so when you bring them all together and it works, and it's just, it is the greatest.
I kind of pride myself on sitting smack bang in the middle of that.
Yeah.
I can be a good go-between.
Well, that's what I've done when I first started professionally, when I was about 16, doing touring panto. I was a performer, but I also had to do the tech side of it. So I had to put the PA up, the lights, the setup, and all that kind of stuff. So first few years, I was learning both. You know, so I was a performer and I was learning tech. So then when I moved on to directing, I already knew tech stuff.
Yeah.
So I could do certain things, I knew what would work and things like that. So I've always sat on both sides of the fence as a director, a tech and performer as well. So I find it quite easy to understand all three kind of thing.
I think it's something that everybody who works in theatre, or even just in the performing arts in general, you know, music, acting, whatever, I think everybody would stand to benefit from working on the other side of it.
Yeah.
You know, you get companies like Greggs. No matter what position you hold in Greggs, they make you work on the front line behind a till in a shop for like something like 2 or 3 days a year. Yeah. You know, even if you're head honcho or you're like an IT nerd backstage kind of thing, you have to work front. And I think that's that's a really positive thing. You learn to value how much hard work other people put in. Because I've been privy to conversations with the actors who were like, oh, bloody techs, blah, 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 blah. And then you're privy to the conversations with the techs who were like, oh, for God's sakes, they're on the way around bloody divas. Then, you know, I think it's a really positive thing to be able to see things from both sides. Yeah,
it is. I mean, for me, I always say it was the greatest training ground for me, because when I was doing it, we were working the social clubs and we were doing 7 days a week, 3 shows a day, you know. For 3 weeks. A lot of shows, a lot of travelling in the back of a van, setting up. So yeah, it was the greatest kind of training ground for me. It was better than college, it was better than drama school. You learn to do it, and you learn to do it on the hardest stages of them all.
Absolutely, in close proximity with people who you might not like as well.
Drunken people in social clubs. Yeah. You know, when you're trying to perform, and especially when you're dressed as a woman like I was. You know, but you learn how to perform over that, and you learn to, you know, get a thick skin and how to deal with comebacks and all that kind of stuff. And it was the best training for me, and I would recommend anyone out there to do it. It's like there's still companies like NTC out there who are, you know, going on tour and stuff, and you do have to help out with packing the van, setting the stage up and whatnot. And if you can, do those things. Don't be a precious actor and say I'm not lifting stuff. Get lifting, get learning. You've been tech side, you know, you've been a performer. You've also MD'd for theatre?
Mostly amateur productions, you know, We'll Rock You, school productions and kind of stuff like that. A lot of sort of in-house self-written stuff. Yeah. That probably only the kids and parents would know if I talked about it. I MD'd a show called the Rocky Horror Monster Show. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Which is hilarious. It's like some kind of weird amalgamation of the Rocky Horror Show, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, Frankenstein, Dracula. It's so odd. It's so odd, and the music is terrifying, and I had so much fun with it. It's all like chants about the devil and stuff like that, like really bizarre. I can't even remember who wrote it, but it was so good. That's probably my favourite MD experience. Yeah,
I've used your music in production before, because a huge fan. Obviously, not going to blow smoke up your arse, but I've always been a huge fan.
Thanks.
And there's definitely was a specific song, and I was like, I really want to use that in my play. I think it was the big hit. I think it was at the time. So I came to you and I said, could I use your music in the show? And it worked. I absolutely loved it. Is there a part of you that would like to write music specifically for theatre?
Definitely. There's sort of a little cog turning in my brain at the minute about writing a show about mental health issues, because my first solo album was about all of my own personal issues, so depression, anxiety, bereavement, and I was in a really bad place when I wrote it, but it's gone on to help so many people that I think it kind of deserves a different kind of airing, if that makes sense. So yeah, the cogs are turning about maybe writing something like that. And I hate to say it, whilst talking about mental health is fashionable, you know, it is the in thing at the minute. It's very in theatre. I hate saying it, but you know, take advantage of that whilst it's a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like the idea of writing music for anything really. I think I just see everything as a challenge.
Yeah, like the challenge of writing something for Santa's Naughty Elf.
Yeah, there's that. There is that. I keep coming back to the clangers singing, "We will bind it, we will bind it, we will stick it with glue, glue, glue."
But yeah, so well, I'm very much looking forward to what you can create for Santa's Naughty Elf this year.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm sure it's going to be an experience.
I love that in the meeting he was like, "Will you do this?" I was like, "Okay, will there be fairy lights?" Yes, I'll do it.
Well, because I remember going to see Jen and the T-Locks. That was it. A duo, and you always had always had fairy lights wrapped around keyboard, mic stand, and little butterflies and teacups everywhere. Yeah. So I thought, if you create your own little piano village and have fairy lights and tinsel and
absolutely, I'm very excited.
Total go Christmas nuts with it.
Yeah,
it'd be good. So apart from your music stuff, your gigging, your theatre stuff, I understand here at the Custom Space you've got a little gardening thing going on.
I have. So I've worked here for coming up 2 years, but I've worked kind of around the building for a lot longer than that, teaching music for them and stuff. And obviously I've had a lot to do with the Customs House over the years. And I'd always noticed the garden, and when I first started working here there was another group who kind of lay claim to it, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll not interfere. But me and my mum used to have a horticultural therapy business called Ashbourne Green Project, and we used to go into care homes around County Durham and create new green spaces for them, therapy gardens, raised beds, sensory gardens, that kind of thing. So when this group left Custom Space, they kind of left the garden in a bit of a mess, so I kind of claimed it for my own. Started some work with a couple of the kids that I work with from, I call them kids, they're both in their 20s, from Autism Able. And then I've just kind of gone up, it's really built, it's kind of gained a lot of momentum, so now it's a community garden. I've got groups from Age Concern come in, I've got groups from Your Voice Counts, I've got a refugee group, I've got an asylum seeker group, I've got a church group, and then I've got parents and kids coming and local people, and it's just really nice. Obviously it's in its first year, but we're trying to make it as sort of as sustainable as possible, sort of a series of mini allotments for local people. I mean the allotment waiting list in South Tyneside is 9 years. 9 years. Still this far on, insane.
When you can understand 30 years ago when allotments were still massive, people loved their allotment lots, but now at this point in time to still have a waiting list that long,
it's absolutely crazy. And I just thought, most of the houses in this area don't have gardens as such, they just have little yards. So I wanted to create an opportunity for local people to have their own little piece of greenery, their own little piece of land, grow their own veg. And it's lovely. It's really nice. I find it massively therapeutic. It's very mindful.
Yeah.
And I work with some really lovely people, some very interesting characters. I get to hear all the stories from the people from Age Concern, and some of the refugees have got absolutely heartbreaking stories, and it's quite kind of fuel for the fire of songwriting as well, to be honest. But yeah, it's just lovely. We're working closely with Sea Change, which is the cafe that Autism Able have opened
on
up
Ocean Road.
So we're growing produce for them to use in their recipes.
That's fab.
Which is really nice. So it's all just this nice little, well, exactly what it says on the tin, community garden. A year ago, it was just a big concrete expanse with a few weeds kicking about, and now it's something for the local community to be proud of, and I'm really proud of that.
Supporting a restaurant.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, if anyone wants to get involved, help, donate, is there someone that can contact for your garden?
Just contact me.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Jen Stevens. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much, and we'll leave you to get back to
my garden.
Your garden.
Absolutely.
Get your wellies on. Okay, thank you very much, Jen.
See you later.
Well, that was Jen Stevens. Thank you very much for that, Jen. Lovely catching up with you. Now, if you'd like to check out Jen's music, please do check it out. She's on social media at Jen Stevens Music. She's on Spotify. She's on iTunes, YouTube. Please do check her out. Also, if you're interested in her community garden at the Custom Space, if you are a North East resident, please do give her a ring on 0191 456 3917 or email customspace@customshouse.co.uk. Thank you very much for that, Jen. Now, as we close this episode, just want to remind people, if you do have Edinburgh Fringe shows, please do contact me on Twitter. Keep the stuff coming in. I will try to give you a shout out. Hopefully you'll make one of my picks of the week. Also, I will be in Edinburgh this year from the 2nd from the 2nd of August until the 5th. So if you would like me to come and see your show, give it a little review, then please do get in touch on Twitter. But thank you very much for listening. I hope you come back and listen again. It's been an absolute pleasure. So from me to you, farewell.